As I've mentioned within the last couple of days, I feel like I've clicked out of the worst of the worst. The depression, the feeling suicidal, the not knowing what to do with myself next. So defaulting to Netflix and YouTube and staying in bed. And just now, I kind of realized what the difference feels like in a way. Because I was getting ready for the day and I was stopped by this feeling of, okay, I need to put on my makeup, but I want to grab the different types of lithium oreotate I have and show it on video. Oh, and I need to write this down, and I want to write this on my blog all at the same time. So the brain goes from no possibilities, feeling like I may as well end my life, or it's painful, so I want to, or I could, to there's 5 different things I could do at one time. I just had some probiotic. And also when I was in the shower, I had this sense that it's possible that depression and mania are 2 different worlds. So I might think I'm in an elevated state, slightly manic, or I was just recently depressed. Or it could be that when I'm depressed, I'm in a different world. I'm in that sort of lower energy world. And when I'm manic, I'm in this other world. It's like 2 different worlds. Because a lot of us, from what I've read, feel like there's parallel realities or multiple realities or different realities or some other beautiful world, heaven on earth. And people who are spiritual writers and teachers and philosophers can say, oh, there's a heaven on earth, it's right here, why can't we see it? And then people who are bipolar a lot of times experience that other world or get a sense of it or tap into it or walk in both or walk in one or the other, and then they're called crazy because they're not just sitting in peace saying there's another world. They're actually walking in one or the other, and it's quite disorientating and would make anyone moody. So what I'm saying is, depression is when the brain is in or has come back from that beautiful world, and it's in this other energy that makes it feel like everything is molasses. It's hard to move, it's hard to do anything, it's hard to know what to do next. So I'm wondering about that idea of mania or depression being an indication of which world one's in, which is one in the heaven on earth world that Eckhart Tolle mentions, a new heaven and a new earth, and it's here, and blah, blah, blah. And I love Eckhart Tolle. Or are we in the depressed world where there's war and killing and murder and rape and all that? So it could have something to do with that. And another interesting thing I realized was I listened to that Schumann resonance frequency on YouTube yesterday when I was doing something on my computer, writing something. And I was listening to it before when I was kind of depressed at some point in these 3.5 months that have been really hard. And then when I stopped listening to them with my headphones, particularly these kind of headphones, like over the ear completely. It doesn't work with the in-ear ones. I would notice that once I stopped listening, once I took the headphones off, and I talked about this with myself, if I shook my head, it felt like warping metal, like taking a very thin sheet of metal and like wiggling it around, holding it on both ends and wiggling it, and it's going wah, 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 wah. And so I thought that was interesting because I'd go like this, And it was like doing the whole shaking of this metal for warping metal. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But when I did it yesterday, when I listened yesterday, something even weirder happened. When I took the headphones off, I could hear this slight warping metal sound without shaking my head. It was just there. It was almost like, and I've talked about how I can hear this sort of sound all the time that seems to correlate with this circular motion my body does, like this vortex of energy, in terms of the period or frequency of its movement. And it was like that sound was the substrate for holding on to this metallic type sound. It was as if it was sort of waving on top, as if this constant sort of drone sound that isn't entirely unpleasant was like the entire ocean, and then this metallic sound was like the waves on top making the sound. So the whole ocean would make a sound underneath that would be more fluid, and the waves are more crashy on top. So anyways, that was really interesting. But then something even more weird happened. I decided to plug my ears. And the thing was of it that the sound did not change. It didn't decrease in volume. Not the drony sound that goes with the motion of my heartbeat that I discovered when I was in California, or the metallic sound. So the brain kind of stores sound. It stores sound. And we know that. Somebody says something to us, we store that. We store them saying it to us. We record it. So I don't know what that means, that now it's holding on to the sound even more. And then I would say it takes a minute or two before I can't hear it at all. And the sound is more pronounced when, the metallic sound is more pronounced when I have my fan, my heater on. So it's like it gives it more sound energy to sort of bounce off, like mixing sound frequencies, as if one was making a song and certain frequencies cancel each other out if there's too many in the same kind of range. So the sound of this Schumann resonance and the sound of these metallic waves and the sound of the heater were sort of dancing with each other. And like I said, it subsided over about 2 minutes. It's not like I permanently hear that sound. But it's just kind of interesting. Not sure what it's all about, but this has something to do with the Schumann frequency, for sure. And the other day, the last couple of days, I've sat quietly, kind of meditating spontaneously for a little bit, and could kind of feel the dance of these energies and feeling like I'm more that than anything else. It's more fundamental than the material. There's something like we're light, sound, and gravity. And then the other thing I discovered was that, and I don't know if I said this before, Dolores Orriorden, who passed away, still no news on exactly how, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I think it said she said it in either 2015 or 2017. I can't remember if she was diagnosed in 2015 or before, or she's always had troubles like this before she was diagnosed. But it was interesting because I was reading an article. Where is it? That's my blackout blinds in the background. So this is an article on a website, independent.ie, and it's titled Dolores Orrioren's Brave Struggle Against Bipolar and Mental Health Issues. So that's the citation. And she had trouble after she broke up from her husband in I think 2014, so that's when she really started struggling. And she also had trouble when her father died in 2011. So trauma of divorce, trauma of death of a father. And then this is where it gets interesting. It says, quote, speaking on the Billboard's Soul Sisters podcast, she said, I felt when her father, passed away, he didn't actually leave this world fully. I felt him around me a lot for a while. I could feel him trying to protect me and communicate with me. And there was a lot of weird little coincidences and stuff that made me think that maybe he was somewhere in between, not necessarily crossed over properly. And we all wonder about death, where people go, and what happens. But certainly, they cross over from this dimension to another one. And she was also sexually abused, more trauma as a child. So it got my attention, this stuff she says about another dimension, crossing over to another one. And I feel like when we get a sense of that, like there's other dimensions to cross over to without physically dying, and then there's ones to cross over to possibly when we do die. And I don't know if this is part of the whole mechanism of it, but I feel like sometimes when we get a sense of something more, in touch with, there's other possibilities, other dimensions, other realms, and we don't know how to get there. Sometimes we feel like one way to get there is to die, is to end our life. So I think that possibility becomes stronger, such as how people who are diagnosed as bipolar do end their life 20% of the time, which is a lot higher than people that aren't diagnosed with bipolar. 20% of people in general don't die by ending their life. Otherwise, there'd be like 1 in 5 people ending their life, which is a lot. But for bipolar, that's how it is. So, this isn't related to Dolores Orriorden per se, but I feel like it's possible when we're just really working hard to try to get to that other dimension. One of the possible ways to get there is to end it all, and maybe we do go there and get there. Nobody knows. And I'm not saying when people who are bipolar end their life, they're thinking, well, I'm crossing over to get there. It's very scary, because the times that I've come close to ending my life, or feeling like my life is ending and I'm going to do it even though I kind of know I'm not, it feels like I am dying of suicide even though I'm not. Like experiencing that experience fully without actually physically dying. And it's just as scary as actually dying. And maybe more scary, maybe less. Maybe less scary because maybe death isn't as scary as we think. And maybe more scary because we're not actually dying and death is less scary than we think. So I'm not sure if that's making sense. It's probably not. And I'm not saying this to say that she ended her life. That hasn't been determined yet. But I had no idea she was diagnosed as bipolar. And in my teenage years, I had a 5-disc CD player, and I was so happy about it. And it had a wake-up alarm on it, so it would turn on and play the music in the 5-disc player. And the first CD I had in there was of the Cranberries. And it was the one with the yellow cover. And it had Free to Decide on it. I can't remember what the title of the album was. But it was the one with Salvation. But anyway, the first song on the CD is called Hollywood. And it starts off very quiet, like... So that part didn't wake me up. But anyone who's heard the album knows that the song then goes on to go... quite markedly louder than the initial part. And so that would wake me up. I'd wake up to the Cranberries playing Hollywood, and it was like, and I remember in my half awake stupor, I'd think, man, I need to change that CD to position 2 or something. So that's not what wakes me up, because it's not a slow or easy wake up. It's a song where it's supposed to be really loud, go from really quiet to really loud really quickly. And so yeah, that woke me up for who knows how many months or years before I finally changed it to something else or had some other wake up mechanism. So yeah, I had all of their albums, and I think I still do, because I ripped them onto my computer when technology changed over. One of my favorite bands for sure. And I have a playlist that I've talked about called Singing, where I sing songs when I'm driving, just for fun. Songs I like to sing. And on there I have Ode to My Family and Joe, which is a song off that album with the yellow cover as well. It's very melodic and beautiful with its Spanishy type guitar. So yeah, hopefully it won't be that she ended her life, but it could very well be that. So yeah, I'm really grateful that my brain seems to be back online. I'm gonna go out today and enjoy the day. Today I decided that I would sit down and look at my credit card statement from last year, all of it, as well as my bank account, my PayPal account, and also my Amazon account, because the Amazon purchases show up on my credit card, but it doesn't say what I bought. So I want to quickly talk to myself about what I spent my money on last year, and maybe on paper I'll go through and see what was kind of a waste and what wasn't. And this isn't in perfect order or anything like that, but before I went to California, I spent $60 on the medical ID, which said bipolar disorder, taking lithium, and blah, blah, blah. And that was about $60. I don't really think that was a waste, but maybe unnecessary, especially now because it doesn't have the right phone number on it for my emergency contact, so it's no longer good. And I spent money on shipping different things when I buy stuff, but there's no way to really calculate that. I spent probably $40, $50, $60 on meetups for being a spiritual emergence coach. Attending those cost $20 American dollars, and I probably did 2 or 3. I spent $244 on website hosting for my Bipolar blog. I pay $14 a month monthly for iTunes iCloud storage, and that's not a waste, and I don't think the website is either. I'm going to put little tick marks for myself. And I have a BCAA membership. It's $115 a year. That's not a waste because I've called them 2 times when I left my lights on. Well, once I left my lights on, once I called for someone else. I recently learned I only get 4 service calls a year, so that might not have been smart to use it on someone else, but it was nice. And then I called once because my door handle was broken, and it was suggested, oh, call BCAA, they might know what's wrong, but they just looked at it and said, I don't know, so that might have been a waste of a call. I have 1 call left until March, which is about 3 months. And I spent $40 on the color run, which was fun, and so that's important to have some fun. And I spent $40 on going on that forest bathing walk. That was really cool. I spent $125 on those tickets to Boney M. That was fun. I did that all in a month or so, and so I was having fun that month. And that was the month before I started to go downhill. So it seems like I get myself to a place of having lots of fun, the way I like to have fun, and then go downhill. I spent $162 on my trip to the island, and I know the ferry was about $150, and I paid cash, so I didn't have that on there. And then I spent around $1,000 on my trip for holotropic breathwork, which included a ferry ride and then the sessions. That might have been, I don't think it was a waste, but it was a lot of money for 1 week. So, but again, it shows my determination to overcome some of this stuff, I suppose. And then I spent a bunch of money on the Hearty nutritional supplements. Some I have still, and I don't know when or if I'll be using them, so some of that might have been a bit of a waste. Plus, now I'm in this position that has been harder to get out of, so, and then that led to needing the holotropic breathwork, so that is an expense. And then now I've been on to the Peter Smith of balancingbrainchemistry.co.uk, his program, and I've spent $200 on the consult with him, which was worth it, I think, and then probably $400 or more in supplements so far. So that's yet to be determined. I am feeling a little bit of what I might call body anxiety these last couple of days, so I'm feeling that out. And I remember when I was in that fun mode too, I spent $100 on that rainbow stuff for Halloween, and I was on the manic side there, bouncing on my trampoline, wearing a rainbow unitard and things like that. So that was a waste. And then I was thinking I was going to share some of my videos, and I had that private embed YouTube thing, and that was $300, and that was a waste because I ended up going downhill and then not sharing. So I might still be able to use it somewhat, but it wasn't worth the $300, even though I think it's a really cool product. I'm not sure if I'll be using it or when. And I also rented a private mailbox with, I think it was about $100 cash, because I was thinking, oh, then I have a mailing address to set up on my blog for PayPal Business and MailChimp and all that, and I haven't really used that at all, so that's a waste. I bought some lottery tickets, hoping that the universe might be generous to me. I guess it's kind of a waste. And also, I have a lot of charges for sushi, sometimes Indian food and Mexican food out and about. I would say I'm eating more restaurant food because I don't have my own space. So it is wasting some money, though it's not a waste of money to eat food. And when I was in California, I paid $150 apparently to get university credit for a class I took down there. I don't know if that was a waste or not, but it was $150, kind of a waste. And also, when I was there, I happened to look at a Kickstarter product on the Kickstarter website, and it was an external hard drive for a phone, 250 gigabytes, and it was $150. And I bought it. It said delivery in May, estimated delivery, which was like a month after I purchased it, and I still haven't seen that item. So it's a waste because I never got it, so I don't even know if it's valuable. And then I talked about how I wasted $120 on the masterclass.com subscription, which gives access to a lot of cool classes by a lot of cool people, but I don't really have time to watch all of it. Originally, I got the Dead Mouse one for $100, and then they offered this unlimited for $100. So I went for it, and then immediately after I was like, what am I doing? It's really cool, but I don't really need it. So I would say that's a waste, because I am going through the Dead Mouse one slowly, but I don't really have a setup to practice what he's preaching. If I did, that would be cool. And even if I did, and that's something I might do at some point, might be a waste because I might not really get into it or use it. So that could be something that I waste my money on this year or next year. We'll see. And then I had to get my car repaired, and that was $120. That was not a waste. And also, when I borrowed a car from a friend when I was in California, I sent $500 towards the payments. That wasn't a waste. And to get to California, the train tickets, somebody gave me a bit of money towards one ticket, but it was about $240. That's not a waste. And I bought the blue light therapy. That was about $140. I don't know if that's a waste or not. I do like it, so I would say it's good. And I bought the Muse headband with my credit card points, but it was about $400 worth of points, or maybe $300. So it's still money because I could have used that on something else. I would say it's kind of maybe okay. It's questionable. I have used it a bit. I probably will use it more. I'm planning to use it when I have my space set up soon to sit on the couch and do the relaxation audio that Peter Smith sent me as part of his program. It's supposed to be done 50 days in a row. I got to 15 days, and then I was doing those night shifts, and I fell off the wagon of it. So when I'm doing that soon, hopefully, I'm going to use the Muse headband at the same time. So I kind of like it. I think it's worth it, but it's not necessary. But again, I'm always looking for something to help or something to figure stuff out. Information, resources, tools, gadgets. When I look at what I spent money on, there's a lot of that. And then I purchased the Self-Decode annual membership because I had my information from 23andMe DNA analysis, and I plugged it into that. I looked at that one day, and it was kind of interesting, but they really don't know too much, and there's contradictory information, and you have to have a lot of background knowledge to really understand it. So I think that was a waste for sure. And I bought some white warm winter boots at Marshall's for $70. That was worth it. And a couple months I paid for a Dropbox subscription because there was more functionality than iCloud storage, and I was playing around with that. Only for, I think I probably had it a couple months, but it was a waste in the end. And also, I bought that Bluetooth heart rate monitor for $40. I tried it once. It doesn't work as well as my chest strap, so that was a waste. And I went for one event for mental health. That was $40. That was fine. And there's that external hard drive through Indiegogo, again listed there. And then, what else do I have? My passport renewal was $160. That is necessary. There's parking. I didn't pay for very much parking this year because I didn't really go into town too much. So that was minimal, but fine. And also, I bought lipospheric vitamin C when I was doing the Hardy Nutritionals through VitaCost. I guess that's fine, but it's kind of like expensive on the supplements. I have to try to reduce the cost of that somehow. And I also did the trip to LA when I was in California to do eCPR training. And I don't think it was a waste per se, but I really need to focus on stopping this seeking for the answer through supplements, through things like eCPR, and I would do that if I had a lot of resources, but not having a lot of resources, I need to tone that down. That's equivalent to the holotropic breath work, spending $1,000 in a week. Well, for the eCPR, I spent, with gas and everything, probably $500 in a couple days. So even though I enjoyed it and I wouldn't change it, according to my outlook for this year, hopefully, that is considered a waste because it was a car rental and a hotel room and gas, of course. And my cell phone while I was in the USA, I purchased a plan so I could talk to a person in particular and paid probably $200 the whole time I was there, and I think that was a waste. And I got a parking ticket, which was $42. That's a waste of money for sure, because I was walking on my phone and I could have easily used the app to add 5 minutes, and I just didn't, and the person just happened to be there giving me a ticket. I wasn't trying to save that money, I just lost track of time. And the darkness therapy cost me $40. That is cool. I bought the amber glasses for $16. I haven't really used them, but that's not a big deal. And when I look through my Amazon account, I spent about $170 on books, paper, and Kindle. I think that's okay, but I'm going to try to limit that to probably half. So according to this year, I'm going to call that a waste. And I bought that Haritaki powder. I think that was about $25. Probably a waste. It made me throw up, but I could put it in a capsule. And I bought a 2 terabyte external hard drive to download the videos I've made it onto. That's fine. And Tunes to Tube, which I've used to convert the videos, that's fine. And then other than that, there is the regular expenses of, I don't know where they are here. Oh, I think I tore up that paper because I put it here where there's gas, there's car insurance, there's a cell phone, my iTunes storage is $14 a month, I have a $10 charity donation every month. Supplements, I want to limit that to about $200. Of course, there's food, some rent, and like restaurants and coffee, which I want to try to limit. So yeah, I didn't talk about my coffee and restaurant food spending. There wasn't too many purchases for stuff, but that was sort of where I spent my money, and I could do better. I'm going to go through and look to see what the patterns here are. Not just saying, well, I won't go to eCPR again, but what is the drive behind it that would lead me to maybe do something like that or spend that kind of money. And I do have the possible drives this year to get a new car that I can sleep in, to maybe get a stand-up paddleboard, which that is something that could turn out to be a waste if I don't really use it. if I sit in here and write or something and I'm not getting outside, I don't have that as a priority. Or buying some stuff to get into music production, that could be a waste. But I'd rather start wasting money on things for being outside or artistic in the way that I possibly know than supplements and going to mental health events and things like that, or trying to deal with my mental health by being creative in a way that doesn't involve mental health. Because this last year I've been creative, but it's all mental health this and mental health that, creating insights and ideas and things. And it's not like I won't do that at all, but I'm not sure what my one thing will be this year. If it'll be writing a book or blogging or making music or what, but I think once I get settled to my new place, I'll have a better idea. And then, of course, there's income from disability and different things, and it's okay, I'm not in the minus, but I do need to be smarter. And partly I'm looking at this not as a mathematical thing, but seeing the trends that of what I spend money on and why, and using that to see, well, what is really worth it? Is it worth it to spend $1,000 on holotropic breathwork or $1,000 on good food? And when I think about it in the past, when I've done expensive food, I've felt like $1 million, and it really is worth it. So just trying to get back to those basic things, and then trying to organize, well, what can I do that is low cost this year? And also maybe how can I create passive income, or after this year of fumbling about a little bit, spending some time really trying to figure out some trends and things and experiment with what could be more helpful, and then decide what I want to do that is perhaps a grounded job. I have no idea. That's a lot of babbling. Bye. Today I was supposed to see my clinician and my psychiatrist, and they were both sick, so I didn't go. And I was hoping to see my lithium blood test results from when I was still on lithium carbonate and find out about a rent subsidy to see if there's a possibility of moving out on my own. But that didn't happen, so I've been spending some time trying to get organized a bit. And since I've been feeling a little bit better these last few days, that is easier. And I wrote down a few important dates. This cycle of feeling good, maybe being slightly manic, then going into psychosis, and then depression, seems to be an 8.5-month cycle. So instead of thinking, well, I'm going to stop this from happening, I'm thinking, I'm going to prepare for this. So October 1st is when the cycle started again, and I went into psychosis-like stuff. That was between October 1st and October 15th. It really started bad on the 15th, but it did start showing signs of it on the 1st. So I'm going to count October 1st as the date that it started. So counting 8.5 months from then is June 15th of this year. So right now I have 5 months of wellness where I feel okay. So 5 months from now, which is mid-January to mid-June. And if I do happen to not have a crisis by mid-June, then I'm into what I would think are bonus days of wellness. But at this point I'm not going to be planning for or preaching about the possibility of not having a crisis at all. So I also set a reminder in my calendar and in my reminders app for May 15th, 1 month before, to start getting prepared for the worst, which could be things like stocking a bit of food, signing up for Amazon Prime if I haven't already, and seeing what items might be helpful through Amazon Prime, like food or things that I might need that it will be really hard to go out and get because I'll likely have to take more antipsychotics. It'll be hard to go outside, it'll be hard to drive, at least for a week. And that's what I've learned too, is this last crisis, I left it and I left it and I left it before taking antipsychotics. And if I think about prior times, it's been better to nip it in the bud quickly. So June 15th, I'll nip it in the bud quickly. I'll likely experience less psychosis, but it doesn't mean it'll prevent depression. When this happened on the last 8.5 month cycle and things started to go bad mid to late January, I nipped it right away and I avoided the hospital, and I went to California a few weeks later. And I did have trouble in California, which I'm seeing is just part of that 3 to 3.5 months of hard times. But I went off to California and had a wonderful paradise of context, so it wasn't really that bad. And then that's the time that I decided, I'll taper onto micronutrients. And I did. And it seems like the timing of being just on micronutrients, it took 2 months to taper, and the timing of it was such that that's the time that I start to feel better anyway. So it could be that during the 5 months of good, I might feel good whether I'm on a ton of meds, no meds, a little bit of meds, a lot of micronutrients, no micronutrients. It's hard to say. Right now I'm feeling good and I'm on 2 quetiapine, so a total of 50 milligrams at night, and that's it. I cold turkeyed onto Lithium Oreotate, and I'm still watching out for possibilities of not doing well and having to go back on a carbonate. Speaking of Lithium Oreotate, over the years I've collected 4 different kinds, and since I've never done the switch, I still have them. And the first one is by Advanced Research, which is by Dr. Hans Napier. And I remember reading about this stuff and how it's formulated very specifically, and it's supposed to be good because of that. It has other ingredients of magnesium carbonate, Avicel, Proslov, pure food glaze, Compertol, ACDI-SOL, Plasdone, and magnesium stearate. So kind of weird stuff, but it was put together in a sort of proprietary way. I can't remember what it was, but if you look up Dr. Hans Napier, it talks about it. Maybe it's the Angstrom thing. I don't know if it's the Angstrom thing. Let's see. Hans Napier. Just to put it in here. I'm not seeing it right away, so whatever. And the first day or two I was on this, I took it from a bottle that had some left in it, and then I switched over to, and this one has 4.6 milligrams elemental lithium per tab, and the tabs are 120 milligrams, but only 4.6 milligrams is lithium, elemental lithium. These ones say 500 milligrams elemental lithium on the front, and they say lithium from 131 milligrams of lithium orotate. So this is also lithium orotate. It's by Swanson Ultra, and they're veggie caps. And this is the one I'm taking right now. I have an open bottle, and then I also have this bottle. And this bottle is full. This one is also full. It's fancy. It's called Neurofusion Mental Clarity and Happiness Formula Dietary Supplement. 120 veggie caps. And this one has, in 2 caps, it has 12 milligrams of elemental lithium from 300 milligrams of lithium orotate. So these are kind of double strength. Actually, there's single strength. They're just a little bit more. So 1 cap is about 5 or 6. And it also has zinc, a little bit of zinc orotate. And then there's a blend of some things that Dr. Peter Smith actually recommended I take, which is bacopa, which I'm taking, mucuna, purines, passion flower, which is good for anxiety and stuff, canna herb extract, rhodiola, which I'm taking rhodiola, and saffron extract. So we'll see how different ones might have a different effect as I go along and finish these up, as long as I don't start to feel terrible and decide to go back on the carbonate. And then this is a weird one. It's called Angstrom Lithium. I got it from ewater.com, which is the same website I bought some necklace, an energy necklace from, which is a website I heard about when I originally first got the hint of alternative anything. Alternative medicine, alternative therapy, which was when I bought the book Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About from an infomercial, probably close to 12 years ago. And that's really what started my journey on the natural health stuff. So this is Angstrom Lithium. It doesn't really give a dose except 1 tablespoon. And yeah, it's more of like a very, I don't know, I could just take some to use it up and see what happens. But it wouldn't replace the other ones, I don't think. Right now I'm taking 20 milligrams of lithium orotate a day, divided in 2 doses, and I can probably go down to 15 at some point. 10 or 15, at least that's what Dr. Peter Smith said. So that's the lithium. And also, I wrote down that another date is that I started on the supplements through Dr. Peter Smith on December 1st of last year, 2017, and so by August 15th, that'll be 8.5 months on these supplements. So see if it changes the 8.5 month cycle in some way. And I've been feeling better since, say, January 15th, which was a few days ago. So by October 1st, that would be 8.5 months of feeling good. So I really don't expect to go beyond June 15th and accomplish these August 15th or October 1st days of wellness in a row thing, but I wrote them down just to have an idea. It would be great if I could make it till August 15th or October 1st, mainly because having 3 months of feeling like crap in the summer is not good. If that happens, I'll definitely have to plan to go to California in the winter because it'll half ruin my summer. So that will be something to keep in mind for this planning that I'm going to do, which is planned to not have summer ruined, if possible. Maybe plan activities in advance that I'll be able to do, like get outside in nature, so I at least get the benefits of being in summertime, even if I don't really enjoy it as much because my brain is in that negative dip. And I was kind of thinking the other day about how preparing for a crisis is like preparing for the apocalypse. And now, instead of walking around pretending like the apocalypse in my brain isn't going to happen, I'm going to see how I can minimize it. I'm not sure if my living situation will be super ideal at that time. I'll still be living with other people according to how things are set up right now. But it might be something to keep in mind that if I am going to have a crisis and it's going to be summertime, if I'm somewhere where I'm in walking distance or short driving distance to things that I do tend to enjoy, it could be really helpful. And today I spent $240 booking a flight to California, and tomorrow I'll spend the $30 on my battery for my iPhone, a new one, which is two things that are definitely worth it. And then I'm contemplating getting Amazon Prime. I'll figure it out because it might be helpful to have when I'm in California to get things shipped to me that I need, as long as Amazon has those things that I need. So yeah, Amazon Prime might be part of the thing because I might try to be mobile when I get back from California and enjoy those months of wellness that I will have. So, planning life differently. One of the big parts of the realization for me today was that even though in January of last year, the crisis part, the psychosis, was held to a week, 3 days really, and then a week of recovery, so 10 days. And I tapered off all the Seroquel, the extra Seroquel, within 2 weeks and went back to the medications I was usually on, lithium and trazodone. I went to California, which was ideal, felt good, but within a month it started to come back, and then I did really struggle. Not as much, but I did struggle for about 2 months, and I was on more meds, taking extra Seroquel. So I realized, well, that's kind of the 3 months. It was still a struggle. It just wasn't as much because I was living my dream, even though my dream wasn't as dreamy because I was psychotic a bit of the time and depressed and on extra Seroquel. So now I'm wondering if, since I've been able to switch to Lithium Oreotate, I'm not on trazodone, I'm only on the Seroquel, if maybe taking 1 or 2 Seroquel all the time might stop it from happening again. Or right now, if I stop the Seroquel, it would happen again, and there would go my wellness. It seems like right now I can't not take the Seroquel. I don't know if I'm addicted to it or adapted to it, or I'm just in this place where it could be situational that I need to not have my brain so sensitive because it'll just go psychotic. So that's kind of the difference. Is in January I had a crisis, took the extra Seroquel, tapered off it completely, was on my usual meds, went on living my dream, and it still came back. And that was the thing too. I took Seroquel and I kept taking it until I tapered off it with the help of micronutrients because I was in California. I only really had one night when I couldn't sleep and I felt psychotic. Maybe I could have tapered off of it. I do remember kind of trying, but it didn't work. So it's hard to say. It could be that my brain does better with it right now, even though I was off all of it for 5 months. So it's hard to say. I will be more careful about tapering off of it because it seems, even recently, I got down to 1/3 of a Seroquel and the crisis stuff started to reinitiate. So it's hard to know if that's only a problem during that 3-month period. And now that I'm through it, maybe I could taper off the Seroquel, just like when I was in California, I did taper off, and it was past that 3-month crisis point. I attributed the success of it to the micronutrients, but typically I'm not on the Seroquel during the times that I'm feeling good. I'm on it for a very short period of time. So it's hard to find exact correlations and causations because situations change and things like that. But I could try to get down to half a Seroquel now that I'm in the wellness period. But I think my situation, living with other people and not having a lot of my own space, and even when I do move in a week, still not really having my own encapsulated space, isn't ideal. And it could be that unless I'm in an ideal scenario, it's not good to not take the Seroquel. I'm in a bit of a bind, a bit of a trap, and I have to be smart about designing my way through it. And perhaps not try to taper off the Seroquel completely until I have my own space in an area that I like. It's really hard to say. I could see if I can go without the Seroquel in California. There's still lots of things to try. But again, this year I really do want to focus on being functional, being present, being with people, being in my body, and not chasing these non-functional, dreamy insights and ideas. I did a big harvest of that, and now I want to be able to live without these crises or anticipating them instead of pushing them away and hoping they'll never happen. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm in the sauna and it's really hot, so I can't talk for long. But last night I was wanting to fill my time with something productive, so I wrote some blog posts, and I thought they were okay, like a different flavor from what I usually rant about. And then when I was trying to go to sleep, I wasn't clicking into sleep. As I was falling asleep, sort of clicking into wakefulness, and I could kind of notice that I was seeing things like I sometimes do in terms of it's black, but I can see images like dream elements, but yet I wouldn't click into sleep. And then my heart raced a bit, but it wasn't accompanied by that suicide program feeling I get or anything really scary, but I just had the sense of I'm not going to fall asleep. And I had taken 2 of the Seroquel quetiapine, 50 milligrams, and 2 500 milligrams of tryptophan, which have been fine for sleeping lately. And since earlier in the day, I had reread some of the stuff that Peter Smith sent me from Balancing Brain Chemistry. When I did the consult, he sent me all these instructions. They're really long and detailed, and I like to review them because I'm doing the regime I'm doing, and I've decided as certain items run out, I'm not going to replace them and see how I feel. But there's also the protocol for when things start to go poorly. And usually he talks in terms of when one starts to get manic, how to calm it down, which is things like take branched chain amino acids, take sunflower lecithin, blah, blah, blah. So I had just read that earlier that day. And so when I couldn't sleep, I remembered, okay, this is what he said to induce sleep. Take 4 to 5 sunflower lecithin, which I have on hand, and those are 1,200 milligrams. So I took 4 of those, and he said extra zinc induces sleep. So I took 30 milligrams of zinc, because I had taken 30 earlier, and there's some in my multivitamin. So that was kind of the max of the day. And I took 3 milligram melatonin. And had I not read that stuff earlier in the day, I probably wouldn't have thought to do that. I probably would have gotten up and taken an extra Seroquel and then gotten up and taken an extra one if I still didn't sleep. And then I'd be up to taking 3 Seroquel a night. Like tonight I'd take 3 Seroquel and then try to get back down to 2. But what he said to do did make me sleep. I fell asleep within a pretty reasonable amount of time. I wasn't really laying there for that long. So that was really cool to learn, because it'd be nice to not take extra Seroquel. Because this actually happened when I was working at the warehouse. I couldn't sleep. And I might have taken sunflower lecithin, but not zinc. And, oh yeah, when I got up, I think I took another tryptophan too, another 500 milligrams. So instead, I might have taken sunflower lecithin, but not the zinc, because I forgot about that part. I think I took branched chain amino acids and sunflower lecithin. And it didn't work, and I took another Seroquel and another Seroquel, and then I ended up sleeping all day because I was on the night shift, but not really sleeping, and then waking up feeling like, holy crap, I've taken 4 Seroquel. Now I have to go to work. I don't feel like I slept. How am I going to get through this 10-hour night shift? And it was really scary and not fun, but I did it. And then for days I was kind of slightly psychotic and really suicidal, walking around at work, crying to myself. There's no one really around to see. It was sort of like thoughts of suicide, and then tears streaming down my face, and just, yeah, wiping those away and going on with it. But I feel like I was able to go to sleep. Not only that, I slept like 14 hours, which is a lot, and I don't really want to sleep that long, but maybe that was a good thing in this case. And one of the things that could have contributed was that I ate my dinner of Indian food that I like, and then I felt like kind of bingey and I ate 8 dates, and then I ate 2 Laura bars. So that's a lot of food. And before I went to bed, my cramps started to come back, when usually once they're kind of over, they're over and they don't come back. So I don't know if the cramps were from eating all that food and sort of causing more inflammation in my body, and they came back and I was having trouble sleeping. So it's hard to say. I shouldn't binge like that, that's for sure. I don't know. Happens every now and then. Plus, I already said to myself that eating that many dates can cause anxiety, and maybe eating that many dates in a certain circumstance can cause not being able to sleep. It was only a few hours before I went to sleep that I did that, so not smart. I'll try to be smarter about that sort of thing, and that's mainly what I wanted to talk about, was that working. And so I guess if using these supplements in these ways actually does work, then I would be more apt to want to continue with it, because it's nice to be able to take extra vitamins instead of extra medications to induce sleep. I'm getting ready to move in a couple days, so I will no longer be sitting in this little spot on this wooden chair. I'll have my brown couch to sit on. It'll take a while to get it all set up, though. And I'm moving into a basement. It doesn't have a kitchen. A kitchen might be put in, but I'm worried that since I booked a trip to California, that will lessen the likelihood of the kitchen being put in, because it will be said that, well, if you're not going to be here, well, why would there be a kitchen put in? But in my mind, it'll be a good time to put the kitchen in, is when I'm not there. So we'll see what happens. I'm a little bit worried about that kind of drama. And yeah, so there'll be lots of work to do with that. And it feels kind of like waiting. Not much else to do except get a hold of my clinician to get an appointment with my psychiatrist. And I'm a bit nervous about switching psychiatrists. When I change my address officially, they're going to want to change where I get services for mental health. And I really like my psychiatrist. She's a yoga teacher. She listens. She doesn't just do the 15-20 minute med reviews. It's a half an hour to an hour of talking, and that's helpful sometimes, especially when in a crisis and going through a crisis without the hospital. So a little bit nervous about that, but it doesn't matter too much if I'm able to stay on 50 milligrams of quetiapine a night, because I have extra of that stuff, so it's not like I have to go in all the time, or it's not like I'm depending on the psychiatrist to save my life with the combination of meds. If things start to go funny and I decide that I need to take Zoloft or sertraline, my current psychiatrist gladly prescribed that to me, and then I decided that I wasn't going to go on it, which might have made life more difficult, but I wanted to see if this Peter Smith program might help to deal with the serotonin stuff. I'm on tryptophan, I'm on St. John's wort, and that takes a while to kick in. So still trying the natural stuff, which again, it might just be time. So there's this layer of time. 5 months of wellness and feeling pretty good, and then 3 months of not wellness, and then anything I do in the midst of there may or may not really help. Though during the acute times of unwellness, I do need more medication, it seems. But anyways, the new psychiatrist, I'm likely not going to be open to sharing what I'm doing in terms of lithium orotate, whereas my current one, I might say that to. Maybe I should say that, and then they can pass that information along. I don't know. And then it's possible that psychiatrists won't want to see me, so it's kind of scary to do this stuff on my own, really wanting to minimize the medications I'm taking in. And I say, oh, I'm not trying to fix this anymore, but it seems that I am, in a way. And today is the day I'm going to switch from Swanson Ultra Lithium Oreotate, which has 5 milligrams of lithium per cap. So I've been taking 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, so that's 20. Even though lithium orotate, it's 131 milligrams of lithium orotate, but 5 milligrams of lithium in one. And then I'm going to switch to this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to switch to this one or the advanced research one, but I'm going to do this one because if I take 2 of these, I have 2 of these left right now. That's 10 milligrams. And if I take 2 of these neurofusion ones have 6 milligrams of lithium per cap, so that's 12. So today I'll actually be taking 2 milligrams more. But tomorrow I want to see if I can take 3 of these a day. So 1 in the morning and 2 in the evening. So that would be a total of 18. So I'll be going down from 20 milligrams a day, taking 4 of these, to 18 milligrams a day, taking 3 of these. And then after that, the advanced research ones have 4.6. So I can't remember if I was going to do that. But I could combine them and stuff, but I kind of want to see, well, how do I feel on this one? And it's hard to know exactly because right now the trend is that I'm going on an upswing anyway. So I could start this one and start feeling a bit better and then think it's because of this, but it's not necessarily. This one has a bunch of extra goodies in it. It has some zinc orotate, just 3 milligrams in 2 caps, so 1.5 milligrams a cap, and then it has this Bacopa, which I already take, but it's a proprietary blend of 1140 milligrams of this combination, so I don't know how much is in there per se, but I might be able to not take the Bacopa that I already bought because it's in this, if I decide to go with this one in the long term. It has mucuna, pruinis seed, passion flower, canna extract, rhodiola life, which is rhodiola, and I take that too, so maybe I'd be able to take less rhodiola, and saffron extract. So that's the one I'm going to switch to tonight, and then I have the other kind, and these are ones that I've accumulated over the years because it seems I was contemplating the switch, but I never really did the switch. So it's time to take the last bit of this, and for convenience sake, I'm going to put some of these Neurofusion ones from the glass bottle in the plastic so I can carry it around. So when I'm out and about, if I need to take lithium, I can. I still have another full one of these, but I'm going to go to the Neurofusion and then the advanced research and then back to this one. And if I feel like it, I could even take 4 of these a day, or if I feel like I need the 20 milligrams instead of 18, I could take 2 of these and 2 of the Swanson and see what happens. So I might mix and match depending if I need to, but we'll see. And then the other thing is I finished listening to that Brain Maker audiobook through my Audible trial, and I noticed at the end he was again emphasizing this fecal microbial transplant thing, and he talked about case studies where certain people had great results. And it's not widely available, but people with autism were helped, people with Tourette's, people with MS. So I decided to Google to see if there's anything on FMT, as it's called, and bipolar disorder, and it turns out that they're doing a study in Toronto called The Safety and Efficacy of Fecal Microbiota Transplantation in a Population with Bipolar Disorder. And it says on this page here that it was posted on September 12th of 2017, and they're expecting the results by September 2019. So it'll be 2 years. And I emailed them to see if I could get on a list to be informed when the paper is out, because I would be really interested to know if it's helpful, because it could be helpful to get someone's healthy poop put in my unhealthy poop hole, and maybe if it's poop from a sane person, maybe it'll make me more sane. That would be great. And I also put a note in my calendar to look for that paper in September of 2019. So that's a ways away. The author of the book Brain Maker, Dr. David Perlmutter, did mention that some people just try this at home. That would be really awkward to ask somebody for their poop. And yeah, so here I am thinking that I don't want to fix stuff, and seeing that poop might be the answer to fixing some of this stuff. And then there's things like the MDMA assisted psychotherapy, so there's still things. One thing I want to do is cut out gluten. That's something that it said to do in the book too, which is kind of an obvious one. And one other thing I came across yesterday in terms of a study. I think I looked up ALA, alpha lipoic acid, and bipolar disorder, because at the end of the Brainmaker book, he talks about 5 things that we should do. And one was something like avoid gluten, one was take omega-3s, like DHA, because something like 90% of the brain cell membranes are made up of DHA. And also don't have chlorinated water, because that kills the gut microbiota. And then I can't remember one of the other ones, but another one was take ALA, and I was surprised because I don't remember him mentioning ALA at all in the book, so it was a little tidbit. His top 5 things, he didn't even really elaborate on that. So I looked up ALA and bipolar, and I came across a study, but it wasn't a full study, it was just the abstract and the results summary, and it's called Mitochondrial Modulators for Bipolar Disorder, a pathophysiologically informed paradigm for new drug development. Well, I don't really like that last part, using these pathways as a way to develop new drugs, but it says that mitochondrial modulators treatments targets mitochondrial dysfunction. Because I have read before, there's different theories of bipolar. Of course, there's this microbiome thing, which is related to this study with FMT and bipolar. And then there's mitochondrial dysfunction, and then there's oxidative stress, blah, blah, blah. And that goes with most different diseases and things, that there's different possibilities of what's going on, and they could all be going on at the same time. But anyways, they're talking about there could be altered brain energy metabolism and the dysregulation of multiple mitochondrial genes in patients with bipolar disorder. And so they talked about the different possible candidates. One is NAC, N-acetylcysteine, and I already take that. And then another is acetyl L-carnitine, ALCAR. And I used to take that for a little while because years ago, the nutritionist Eva Edelman mentioned taking it, and it talks about it in the book Natural Therapies for Bipolar Disorder, a compendium of nutritional approaches. So I looked that up yesterday, and it talked about how that molecule is necessary for something or other, something like fat energy transfer in the brain. It's only available from red meat, and I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat. So I was thinking that I could possibly try that. And it was mentioned along with alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10, which I already take, and S-adenosylmethionine, which is SAMe. So I take SAMe, I take NAC, I take CoQ10, but I don't take ALA and ALCAR. So it's not saying that I should or anything in this little blurb, but I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'll try it, because the Brainmaker book says take ALA, and I can't remember where that comes from generally, but I think I don't have a source of that really. And then this bit that I found in relation to ALA and bipolar says take possibly ALCAR, or they're studying it as a possible mechanism for drug development and studying that pathway. So anyway, I looked on VitaCost, and they have a combo of ALA and ALCAR for like $10. So when I make another order, I might try that. Some of my BDNF supplements will be running out, and I'll keep track of how I feel along the way of that happening, and I'll keep track of the ones that run out, so maybe I'll buy them again. And I also made a note in my calendar to possibly buy those and take them a month before I know that I'm going to have a brain collapse or brain apocalypse or crisis, because maybe that will help the brain from dying back into old patterns. And I don't know, I think I need to treat it more like a fun game than this could really work. It seems like I can't stop for the most part. I was listening to deadmau5's masterclass on how to make EDM or electronic music, and he has this huge production studio with all these things, and he can't help himself. He could make really good music without most of that stuff, but he can't help but buy it and try different things, and I'm the same way with this, but it's modulating bipolar disorder instead of sound frequencies. It's modulating life energy. So hopefully in learning this language of the balancing brain chemistry and trying different things, it can be more of a background thing, and we'll see about that. So another thing I'll do when I get set up in my new place is a probiotic enema, and the Brain Maker book recommended that, and I probably have done that before. And if I do get a kitchen, it would be cool to start making kombucha and sauerkraut and different fermented things. The cool thing is that I am a health nut at heart, so doing those things is sort of in alignment with what I like to do anyway. I used to do that. I used to make kombucha. I used to make coconut yogurt. I used to make healthy treats with dates. Lots of different things, and I was doing it because I really enjoyed it. I liked having the energy of raw foods, living foods. But now, since I've been taking the perspective of I have to fix this bipolar disorder, it's made it less fun. And I'm going to try and go gluten-free, and yeah, that's most of what I wanted to talk about today. It was more than I thought. And I'm also listening to a course on Udemy, which is that online course website where you can purchase courses, and it's on dissociation and psychosis and CBT for all of that. I did see part 1 of that course live, and I missed part 2, so I bought it, and I'm going through it slowly. And it was interesting that Ron Unger, the teacher, said that insight into one's illness actually correlates with depression, because it makes one a passive victim, and then one gets depressed. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit. And also, I think that's about it. I have my blue light going. I'll turn that off soon. Took the lithium, and I'm going to continue to pack and see how I feel when I get to this new situation. It's been really challenging, and I don't think the challenge is over. It's not. I just got back in the good old infrared sauna, and it's pretty hot in here, 129. Sometimes I get in at about 115, and then it gets up to about 131, so I can stay in for about an hour. When it starts off this hot, I probably can't stay in for more than half an hour. I don't know which is better. But right now it says 17 minutes, and I want more than 17 minutes. And if I reset the timer, it goes back to 90 minutes. But I realized that it's probably not safe to do that, because if I were to pass out for some reason, then the timer would keep going, the heat would keep going, and I'd probably be dead. So if I want more time than just 16 minutes, I may as well reset the timer to exactly what I want. So as soon as I press the timer again, it goes to 90. Don't want that. So I'm going to reduce it. to, I'm going to put on 40 minutes. Yes, 2 days ago I was probably in here for an hour, but it started off at 1:13. Oh, and I can stand. So I probably don't have too long to talk because it's really hot for my phone, but not too long ago today I noticed that I shifted into a higher state. I actually feel kind of high. And so I'm thinking, well, what caused this? And I don't want to think in terms of causes and causing it again or whatever, but just thinking about what's changed. And again, it could just be the progression of time, but I don't think I've really felt this literal switch, like from being kind of okay. I did cry myself to sleep a little bit last night, to this morning being like, phew. And I hadn't yet taken my Lithium Oreotate, and I am on the new Neurofusion brand kind, which has all those little goodies in there like bacopa and passion flower and different things. So I thought, well, maybe it's that, but I hadn't taken it yet. I did just take it before I got in the sauna. But what I had taken was my usual supplement regime, and the one thing that had changed was last night I took one of this new magnesium that also has calcium because I found it in my stash and I thought, well, I may as well use this up. But I haven't been taking extra calcium. So this supplement has a lot of calcium. It has, I think, 1,100 milligrams in 2 caps and then 550 milligrams of magnesium. And Dr. Peter Smith told me to take 400 milligrams of magnesium twice a day. So I took 2, even though that's a bit too much of the magnesium. The Bluetooth in here is beeping. And so what I'm saying is, what's extra is the calcium. Maybe if I sit down it won't be so buzzy. So extra calcium, changed my lithium orotate, but I hadn't yet taken it today, but I did take it last night. I had similar breakfast. Often I'll take the empty stomach vitamins, wait for like half an hour, take my 2 omega-3s, and then have an orange right away, and then take a bunch of the supplements I take, and then have another orange, take a bunch more of the supplements, and then I had 2 dates, just because I'm really liking dates right now. And they have organic dates at Costco, which is nice. It's cheaper than Superstore. And hello, Lithium Oreotate caps, they just burst open. So then what else happened was earlier I had decided to put on my diffuser aromatherapy because it smelled like cat food, like wet cat food, fish smell, because a roomie of mine has been rinsing out cat dishes in the bathroom, which is adjacent to my room. So it stinks. So I grabbed some cedarwood oil, some cinnamon oil, and some, it was called Forgive. All those 3 were by doTERRA. Put 2 drops of each in the water in my diffuser, turned it on, so wonderful smell. So I'm just trying to think of some of these preconditions, and again, it might just be time, but I was writing things down and thinking of ideas for things. It sort of popped in my mind of, what if I wrote a blog post a day, not wrote a blog post every day, but posted a blog every day. So write 2 or 3 in one day and then schedule them, blah blah blah. And I've been doing that for the last week, and I've noticed that the titles with Bipolar get more hits, and I'm not trying to get traffic. I don't even know how. I guess this would be an experiment. And then I was thinking, well, I could blog about this experience of, utilizing Peter Smith's balancing brain chemistry, because my last strategy was do all these videos and then if it works, share it and be like, oh look what I did, and I already did it. But this would be doing it as I go along, which I don't do generally. So I might try that. And then I was also listening to my favorite playlist of electronic music songs, which I haven't listened to much lately. I finally listened to it in the car the other day. I wasn't listening to any music for a while, and then I was listening to my playlist that I sing to when I was working at the warehouse, and I did eventually start singing again. So some of these clues to the state for me are about, am I singing? Am I dancing? Just for my own sake. And I've been singing, but not dancing, and I just sort of started getting a bit dancey, and I don't dance, but I'm using it more of a metric of the state I'm in. So at the same time, in terms of being aware of Peter Smith's program, I need to be mindful of taking the branched chain amino acids to remove the access to tyrosine for my brain to make dopamine if necessary. It tastes really gross. I can see why they flavor it, and I got unflavored. Definitely needs to be in juice. It's disgusting. And also sunflower lecithin and more zinc. And I was putting in a Vitacost order to get a few things that I need. I'm trying to replace them as needed right now, because I don't want to buy a whole bunch and then decide, well, I'm not doing this anymore, and then I have all this extra stuff that usually eventually I consume. But I paused because I had an order in for magnesium citrate without calcium, and I'm thinking maybe I do need extra calcium. I did have 2 people in the past say take calcium. One was Dr. John Matson of the Eating Alive program, and he recommends calcium as it strengthens the ileocecal valve, which can be weakened, and then bacteria from the large intestine, which is not sterile, get into the small intestine, which is supposed to be sterile, basic, or alkaline. So the large intestine is acidic, has certain microbiota, and then they get into the alkaline version area of the body in the digestive system, and they flourish and make all these toxins, and there's yeast and blah blah blah. So that was his thing, was calcium, among other things, and it really did help. And then the other person was, I went to the blood lady, and she said that through her analysis that she did, this German hair analysis, I needed calcium. So maybe I do need some calcium, and these would be some extra tweaks that I would be adding in on top of the balancing brain chemistry program. And then again, it might just be time. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I have this certain biorhythm of bipolar because I do try to make it better to some extent. Some people are more up and down every day, whereas I feel like I have this biorhythm of trying to build up a good version of myself, but then it does get sabotaged and torn apart, and I can see why, and those are other things that I can work on. But yeah, I also have my blue light going, the aromatherapy. There were other things I put in my notes, and I'm gonna make a blog post about it, but I'm worried it's getting too hot in here for my phone. It's 131. And I have been dreaming more, and I'm wondering if it's the infrared sauna. That's the other thing. I've been on the 1-a-day vitamin or 2-a-day vitamin now for a couple weeks, and I hadn't had that in there, and that was part of the program. So maybe things are starting to work together better now, and I will, in the next couple of days, be running out of a few things, and they're related to neuroplasticity, and I think that's okay, because it feels like my brain is tipped into the point where I don't need neuroplasticity boosters. It just takes on a life of its own, and I know that from past history. So I'm okay with that, and I'll keep a list in my iCal of things to replenish near the time that I feel I'm going to start to go down, and see if I can support that. And realizing when I go downhill, I'll be projecting onto people. I'll be having past negative experiences go through my mind related to everyone around me, and so it could be smart to be somewhere else and maybe have like a 3-day crisis somewhere else and then get on with it, because I have nobody to project onto, which might have been what happened in January of 2017, because I knew I was going away. I don't know. And then I had some inspiration too. Feel like, okay, create a healthy body and make something out of that, because that's what I like to do anyway. I never used to focus on creating a healthy mind. I was mainly focused on, well, that's not true. I have no idea. It's getting hot. I'm gonna